I'm Rachel Horgan. Join me each episode as I sit down with a guest co-host covering the latest business stories in the Seattle area. We'll read the news so you don't have to. This is The Weekly. Welcome back, everybody. I took a little break. I pre-recorded that episode that just came out last week. So I don't think I've actually talked to you guys since my New Year's Eve party. I was hired on by Ascend Steak, Sushi and Steakhouse over in Bellevue. It's beautiful. I've produced a couple events there with a past job. And the director of marketing is a friend. I've kind of met her over the years through friends, and she hired me to be their on-site event planner. It was so fun because I've done corporate for a while, and I forgot how fun this stuff can be. So it was Havana Nights themed. We had go-go dancers by Maison de Vie, who our guest probably knows a lot about.
Yes, absolutely.
We had like a light-up dance floor. We had a Cuban band. We had Cuban dancers. We had cigar rollers. We had casinos. It was really fun to, kind of manage all those.
I'm sorry I missed
vendors.
that party.
I know. Where were you?
Yeah, right.
And the sad part, though, is that at midnight, it was like 3, 2, 1, and it was so foggy on New Year's Eve here in Seattle.
Right.
And they have like floor-to-ceiling windows in their whole
It's so
like
beautiful
this
up
rooftop
there.
thing. Yeah. And I texted my fireworks guy, and I was like, "Is it going?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like,
Oh,
okay,
no.
we can't see any of it. But it is what it is. Money was spent. You can't control the weather. So if that's the one thing that went wrong, I'm happy. So that was my New Year's Eve. The voice you hear with me here is a event professional, famous in Seattle.
Okay.
It's Niki McKay, founder of Blue Danube Productions. Hello.
Hi there.
So we haven't quite worked together. I will say, because I was working at a nonprofit and then I was working in a newspaper. So we didn't have quite the budget to do the cool things that your company does. I think I maybe rented like one microphone from you once.
Yeah, I think
at
the Puget Sound Business Journal when you were there.
Yeah. But you started this company almost 20 years ago, about 19 years ago.
That's true.
So you've been in this industry a long time, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it. But for the listeners, give them an overview of kind of the size and scope of Blue Danube. I mentioned it's kind of I don't know, high-end or larger productions typically, but maybe it's number of events or revenue. Kind of describe what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, I started the company in 2007 out of my garage. And over the course of the years, by the time I sold it last year, we had 15 employees. We have 5 offices throughout the country. We have over 200 contractors that work for us. We do over 600 events a year, probably even closer to 700. And for the past 3 years, we were named the fastest growing woman-owned company in the state.
And I think fastest growing private company by PSBJ as well.
We were number 2 in 23. We were number 4 in 24. And then we dropped down to number 20, I think, this past year.
Yeah, well, it's hard to...
I mean...
Yeah, it's calculated, because I was there, it's calculated for 2 years of growth. So from 2022 to 2024 or whatever it is.
And it's a percentage of revenue,
Yeah, so it's super impressive. I was looking at your website, and looks like you worked on Macklemore, his opening night of his tour of the Heist, so like his prime at WANU, and Alaska Airlines rebrand. So you do these like super high-end things. Do you have like a budget for the event or just kind of whatever makes sense?
No, we actually don't have any minimums at all. And I don't believe in doing that because I think it limits your ability to help people. Yeah. And I always felt as though the way you connect with people is by doing any event of any scale. So we've done everything. We did the Heist tour. We actually sent those pictures that you saw online. We actually sent all of that stuff with him on tour. And at the end of that tour was when his career just exploded.
Wow.
And so it was really exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That cool moment in his career.
Yeah.
When that happened.
And it's audio and visual mostly, audio and video.
Yes.
So you're bringing in those big trusts. You're getting all the really cool lighting,
yes.
massive sound systems, that kind of thing, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I have one more question before we jump into our stories, which is I read an article that because you do these kind of high-end events sometimes, you often run into celebrities. And one of the interviews asked like who you were so excited to meet. And you said, I don't really get excited about celebrities. I get excited for people that kind of change the world. So who, if it's not a celebrity, who have you been excited to meet?
Besides Rachel Horgan.
Oh, my goodness. You're going to get a great edit on this podcast.
Two people come to mind. The first one is Stephen Hawking.
Oh, wow.
We had the opportunity to do an event through the Pacific Science Center with Stephen. We got to spend the whole entire day with him, working with his staff and his team, really learning about all his needs and everything that was required to work with him. But I have a family portrait of him on the stage with him on the stage of the Paramount Theater. And it's a really cool moment.
That's special, yeah.
And then the other person who I complete fangirl on is Melinda French Gates.
Oh, when people ask me who I want on the podcast, I always say her, yeah.
Yeah, I've done a few events with her, and she's incredible, and her people are incredible.
I was going to say, that's so good to hear that she's not like secretly an asshole.
No. As a matter of fact, on one event we did, I wasn't able to connect with her directly to tell her, to give her stage direction, right? You're going to come up stage left, you're going to go to the center, you're going to sit on this chair. But I told her people. And I just thought to myself, oh, I hope she gets the message. And she totally did, and she nailed it. And I was so happy. I was like, what a great team she has.
Yeah.
But I want to sit with her on a couch with a cup of coffee and just put our feet up and go, so I have questions. Tell me.
Absolutely.
So many things.
Totally. She has change in the world for sure. All right. Well, we've got 4 stories for you today. Yeah. Are you a big, do you read the news usually? Or are you tapped into that? Or are you not?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Well, not that you had to. I just was curious. I was not somebody that read the news before this podcast. So the first one is going to be inside the event production industry. There's no article tied to that, but we're going to kind of get the behind the scenes of what goes on in your world.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about Seattle Times, the publisher's son is taking over. Our third story is about Seattle ferries. There's a lot going on there, potentially getting some Wi-Fi, potentially getting some more ferries. And I heard today that they're also selling ferries. So lots going on.
Oh, wow.
I know my first thought was event venue, which we'll talk about.
Right.
And then our last story is that Ross is leaving downtown Seattle. So, Niki, let's get into it. The first one is inside event production. So you mentioned that you started this company almost about 19 years ago. How did this company come to be? Tell us the origin story.
Well, I had been working kind of as a freelancer for Children's Hospital and doing some of their events, working with their guild associations. And through that process, people came up to me and said, you're really good at this and you should stop doing it for other people and start doing it for yourself. And I was like, that's interesting. So I gave myself a weekend and I thought, if I can come up with a business plan, come up with a name, kind of come up with how I'm going to do this, I'll do it.
A weekend? I gave myself 6 months of unemployment and I was like, okay, I guess that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah. And so then I ended up obviously figuring it out and started the company.
What about raising capital? Because were you just renting a lot of that equipment until you could own your own inventory?
Yes. So initially I partnered with a bunch of different companies. There was a video company. I basically needed video, audio, lighting. And so I went and found those partners and said, I'm starting this company. I'm going to use you exclusively for these different things. Let's talk about what that partnership looks like.
Smart.
And so I was able to really leverage the fact that they were going to be my sole provider for everything that I did. And I was able to come up with a way to start the company without having to put in a huge amount of capital.
Right.
So I really started with $5,000 in my bank account, a computer, and business cards.
And look at you now.
And I hit the road.
Yeah. Why the title Blue Danube? I read a little bit about it, but I want to hear your story.
Yeah. So I didn't want to name the company after myself. For a couple of reasons. I had kids that were really young, and I wanted to make sure that there was a protection between my family and the company.
Interesting.
And then I also wanted something that was just kind of reflective of what the company stood for. So my heritage is Hungarian, and the capital city of Hungary is actually started out as two separate cities. It was Buda and Pest, separated by the Danube River. And the founding fathers came together to build a bridge. They decided to build a bridge over the Danube that created the capital city that we know today as Budapest.
Oh, cool.
And so the AV company, AV World, and event planners don't speak the same language. And Blue Danube became the bridge that connected those two things to create flawless experiences.
I love it. And you came up with that in a weekend.
Yeah. And so that all kind of came together. And it was funny because it was actually, we were brainstorming different names, and my kids, we kind of hit Blue Danube. And the more we talked about it, it was actually my kids who said, it's kind of like how they were two separate cities, Mom. And then you're kind of bringing it all together So they were kind of the ones that hit on that spot, and it was really special. So
yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Definitely, I can relate to not speaking the same language sometimes. So we're going to dive into kind of how you're not the owner at the moment,
right?
Which is a separate story,
right?
But as a former business owner,
yes,
what advice do you have in terms of, or I guess you can take it however you want, but what advice do you have for other people listening that are business owners? Because you were obviously able to make this financially successful. So whether that's budget advice, finance advice, or anything you want to share with the audience,
right? I think there's two things. The first one that's the most important one for me is the people. People, 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 all day long. It's your team, it's your partnerships, it's your crew. If you don't treat your people well, you're not going to succeed. And creating a team and creating that kind of camaraderie. When I first started the company, I would always bring little boxes of Hershey's Kisses to all of my crew and all of my vendors. And I would give them, whether it was a baggie or a little Ziploc container, but I always gave them kisses. And I'd be like, this is to show you my appreciation for helping me start and launch and, get going. And I think it's just through those relationships that eventually your business grows. People move on, people move into different positions, and they take you with them. And that's really how you can multiply that. The second thing is the finances, right? You, as a business owner, one of the things that a lot of people don't do is they don't watch the finances. They don't pay attention to.
That's like the not exciting stuff.
It's not
especially
exciting.
For creatives, right?
Oh, well, it's not exciting, and it's not exactly. And for a creative, it's hard. So one of the things I always say is know what you don't know, and then hire someone who does.
Yes.
So hire someone who can help you figure out the finances if that's where you struggle. And I have a business degree, and so there was a lot of things that I already knew intuitively. But even when I was growing the company, there were things that I wouldn't know. And sometimes I would have to say to my bookkeeper, explain it to me like I'm a kindergartner. Just dumb it down for me because I'm not getting this at all. So
I think that's good.
But paying attention to the finances, paying attention to how much money you're actually going to make when you start your event. Do you know how much money you're actually going to make?
Very, very good advice.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned you were on the fastest growing women-owned list.
Yes.
And I read in an article that you don't typically flaunt that you're women-owned. It wasn't like your big marketing strategy, or correct me if I'm wrong, but
correct.
I guess how do you feel about being woman-owned and using that for marketing? How do you approach that?
So the AV world is highly male-dominated. I even was just looking up statistics recently, and less than an average of 10% of the audio engineer population is women.
I mean, from 15 years of working with AV companies, yes, that tracks.
Yeah. And so as a woman going into the AV world, I didn't want to be like, well, I'm a woman-owned company, ha, ha, ha. I wanted it to be more like, no, I can play with you boys.
Right.
Bring it. I've got it. And I'm going to show you what I can do. And so I didn't really flaunt that part of it. And it wasn't until later when, I'd say probably even in the past 5 years, when that became more prevalent to say, yeah, I'm a woman-owned company. Look and see what I've done. Look what I did in this male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
I've become the fastest growing company in the state. Thanks. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it eventually got to the point where I did start talking about it more. But initially, I had to prove my worth.
I see.
To the rest of the men in the industry.
Yeah. Well, and it was a different time too. Like you said, a lot has changed in the past 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
A couple more here before we get into their next article. Let's talk about what trends you're seeing lately in whether that's the event world or the audiovisual world specifically. What are you seeing that has changed or that's become more popular? Like, I don't know. I remember fidget spinners and having conferences of people like doing stuff with their hands was really popular for a minute. I don't think that's popular anymore. There was holograms, I feel like was popular for a minute. So I don't know. Is there anything that's kind of, what trends are you seeing?
What I'm seeing right now are experiences and activations that promote either sustainability or some sort of social impact.
Okay. So we're becoming better. We're better people, hopefully.
So that we're at least trying to be better people as far as that goes. And then as far as the, audio visual world, it's more about consumption. So it's LEDs, it's power consumption, it's being more efficient in terms of reusing equipment, setting things up. I think people are being more purposeful.
Interesting.
In their spends. It doesn't feel like, I mean, I remember once upon a time it was, let's have these lavish parties and let's do these lavish, crazy sets and designs. And I think there's still a little bit of that happening, but more and more it feels like it's, let's do what really counts. And let's make sure we're spending wisely and we're being, what's the word? Conscious. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, because not only from planners, but I think attendees. I did an event, I don't know, what was it? Some corporate, AT&T. And we were stuffing gifts for kids. So it was like a stuffed animal, a coloring book, whatever. And so we had these crayons, but they only needed like 3 crayons per thing. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, we ended up with like a lot of extra crayons at the end. And a lot of the guests were like, well, what are you guys going to do with the crayons? Are you going to donate them? Where are they going? And I was like, I don't know. They just hired me to work for 2 hours. I'm not really sure.
Exactly.
But people were thinking about it. And they were like, I want it to go to another kid or wherever it goes, right? So
right. We don't want it to be thrown away.
Yeah. That's a good noticing. Okay, last question is, and you know this is coming, because everyone asks me this all the time too. Okay. What is your event horror story? What is a time where something went terribly wrong? And these can be hard to remember because I personally black them out. But I don't know if you have one that you tell often.
One is, as you might know, it rains in Seattle. We were doing this huge event for the Museum of Flight. And a bunch of it was designed to be out in their parking lot. So half the event was in the parking lot, and then everybody moved inside, and it was going to be the dinner and everything was inside. And it was torrentially downpouring for the 3 days leading up to the event. And it actually torrentially downpoured at the event itself. So we, 24 hours out, had to completely redesign the event and move it all inside.
Oh, boy.
And the museum was amazing because they're like, we can do whatever you need. We can move planes. We can do it, whatever it is. Let's just do it. Let's make it happen. And so we all sat down and spent a couple hours reconfiguring the event.
Wow.
So that it would, I was on the other side. So it was inside. And then I had to call all the vendors to say, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're reconfiguring this. I hope you're on board, ready, set, go. Because we're doing it.
And did it work out well?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I say for people listening, they might be saying, why not just get a tent? And to that, I say, isn't it like $20,000 for a tent? Or I don't know if you could have tented that.
Well, yeah, and it was literally the entire parking lot.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So, and I also don't think there was a tent available. I mean, there wasn't a tent available that size that you could install in 24 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't. And it was also still raining.
Yeah.
So it still would have been wet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told this whole story, so I won't tell it here, but I told it on another podcast, that whatever she's having podcast. But mine was, I came to an event and none of the AV was there. And it was an awards ceremony. We were giving out a lifetime achievement. And it was just an empty ballroom with a stage. And we had people coming in 2 hours.
What?
Yeah. It's a whole long thing. And eventually, it was an outside AV company, so it wasn't in-house. And then I tried to get the in-house to help, but they were like, all of our equipment's spoken for. And so at the end of the day, they eventually got there with a team of like 20 people setting it up quickly. Oh my God. And I like pushed the program back. I, you have changed the script, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I did have an event once where the keynote speaker, who was flying up from Los Angeles, never got on the plane and we didn't know it. And it was breakfast. And at 7 a.m, when doors were at 7:30, we found out that the keynote speaker wasn't in town.
Did you jump on stage
and do a tap dance? We were blessed that the MC was actually a journalist.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was Connie Thompson. And she went and interviewed like some of the board members. It was for a nonprofit.
Okay.
Pulled together a panel discussion. And while she was having breakfast, pulled together some questions, and we threw a panel discussion on stage, and she did a beautiful job.
That's so impressive.
Yeah. But it was stressful.
It is. Every year, event planning and events is voted in the top 10 most stressful jobs, and this is why.
Yeah,
this is
why. True.
All right, our next article is Seattle Times publisher passes the torch. So Ryan Blethen will serve as the next publisher of the Seattle Times, taking over from his father, who is 80 years old. And his father's name is Frank, but Frank isn't going too far. He's going to stay on as the board chair. Now, Ryan's great-great-grandfather founded the company in 1896, so that makes him fifth generation running Seattle Times. Ryan has worked many roles at the paper, so he's not coming from outside. He was most recently associate publisher, so this move makes sense from an outside perspective. And yeah, Seattle Times is one of the few family-owned newspapers, so I thought that was fun to read about.
I thought so too. That's incredible.
Yeah. So let's talk about succession planning because Niki, you just sold your company.
I did.
There was an article saying that you'd started thinking about this actually only 2 years into your business. You'd started thinking about how you were going to pass it on. So how did that come about?
Yeah. So about 2 years in, there was a company here in Seattle that had been around for a very long time. It was just one of the iconic companies in the AV world.
Mm-hmm.
And through a series of unfortunate events and health issues primarily, the owners had to auction off their company.
Mm.
And the day that happened, I ran into the wife of the company, and we were at an MPI event. And I saw her, and I just sat with her for a minute because I knew what was going on. And I thought, oh, it's got to be a tough day for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down and we were chatting, and she turns to me and she said, Niki, she goes, I know you're just starting out, but think about how you're going to exit this industry.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. And when you hear little gems like that, for me anyway, I put them in my pocket and I kind of take them away and I go, okay, I'm going to listen to her and I'm going to think about it. So over the course of the years, I would talk to my kids, and my kids, they have their own careers. They're doing their own thing. They're like, we don't want the company.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that as they were going into college. So they immediately were like, nope, we're out. So I knew that the next step would be to sell. And so I immediately started gearing everything towards doing that.
And you met this new buyer. It's not somebody that works at Blue Danube,
No.
right? It's an outside entrepreneur, and you met him online. So how did that come about?
Yeah, that's our joke. That we
I
met
love
online.
it. I'm just picturing like a swipe left or right for your next business owner.
Right?
Yeah,
there's an app for that.
Yeah.
No, that's our joke. I actually hired a business broker to put the company on the market and sell it and promote it, and that process is online.
Yeah.
So that's how we joke. And we also joke because he was actually living in Colorado when we met. And so we did meet via Teams calls.
Yeah.
So,
and is he in the industry, or is he more of kind of like a financial leader or what?
So he was, he had worked at Microsoft and at Expedia in their marketing departments overseeing event programs.
Okay.
And so he was more on the client side of the event industry, but he had taken a hiatus when he went to go live in Colorado for a couple of years with his kids and his wife, and they all just kind of went down there for a bit. And when he was kind of looking to re-enter the workforce, he said, okay, I think I want to own a company. And when he saw Blue Danube, he was like, that's what I want to do.
What about him made you say yes to him? Because I imagine you probably had other people or other interviews or something, but what stood out about him?
Couple things. First of all, that he had the event industry experience.
Yeah. That
he was very smart, very outgoing. I knew he would be a good fit for the team. We shared the same values, and we clicked as individuals. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if we're going to click as individuals, you're going to get along with the team and you're going to be able to get along with the clients. And then as far as sharing the same values, we share the same views of standards and customer service and quality and all of those things, which were really important in the foundation of Blue Danube in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. You spoke at a panel about succession planning. What is some advice do you have, or what have you learned from succession planning that other people can take with them?
Right. A couple things. Succession planning doesn't happen overnight. You don't wake up one day and say, I want to sell my company, or I'm going to do this or that. It takes a couple of years from the moment you say, this is what I want to do. There's things that have to be put into place in terms of you have to have your 3 years of tax returns that look a certain way, and you have to have clean books, and you have to make sure your team is independent of you as the owner. And there's all these different elements of things that you have to put into place that just don't happen overnight. And so that's part of it, is just understanding it takes time. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing was, when you actually create the team that's going to help you sell the company, your business broker, your accountant, your lawyer, your financial advisor. You want to make sure that those people share the same values you do. So that when you're in the heat of the negotiation or when you're in the heat of the process, you know that they're going to have your best interests at heart because they share your same values. So if they're making a decision or if they're helping you, counsel you, or guide you, you know that they're going to guide you in a way that also is fundamental to your core.
Okay, so be really intentional about the team, not just who you're selling it to, but the team that helps you sell it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Other people have said that when I've asked other people about when they've gone through acquisitions, just the importance of, they say like the importance of culture when two companies merge, because it could make a ton of sense on paper, makes sense financially. This widget makes sense with this company, but if the culture doesn't work, it's going to be problematic. So
exactly.
I think about that with Bartell's when it got bought by Rite Aid.
That's a good one.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you're on 90 days of advisory period, right, for the company?
That's done.
That's done. Okay.
Yeah.
And so now, how are you approaching? I think about what's his face, Howard with Starbucks, where he still rants on LinkedIn about what he would do if he was CEO. So how are you going to approach or I don't know, are you going to be involved? How involved are you going to be, and how is that going to feel like emotionally?
So emotionally, how does that feel? That's a good question.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. It is. Because I've been thinking about this for over a year, and the process of selling took a year, basically. I've had time to sit and think about the fact that I'm not going to be at the helm anymore. The part that's the hardest is giving up my people, my team, not seeing all of my crew, not my core group, not seeing them every day. That being said, I am still working as an advisor on the outskirts, even probably for the next year. So, about once a week, I'll still be having meetings here and there to help guide and facilitate the process as it goes. So I think that because there's been transitional steps along the way, it makes it easier to pull back. The other side of it, too, is as you start to pull back and you start to see the freedom that's on the other side of the retirement part, you're like, oh, okay.
It was kind of nice.
This is actually kind of nice. So I'm going to go do this other thing over here.
I interviewed Kathy. She worked at NanoString, and they merged and laid off anyway. I was like, what are you excited about with your time off? Because she was taking a little time away. And she's like, I'm going to go to Costco during the day.
Yes.
So there's just these like little joys of when you're not, running the company.
Okay, so I got my haircut yesterday.
In the middle of the day.
Yeah. It was nice. Beautiful. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is like once you it's probably harder in the beginning because you're like, well, I wouldn't do it this way. Or, if an employee calls you and you want to fix it. But as more time passes, I would imagine it's easier to step back.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to, wait, what was his name? We didn't say his name.
Oh, Mark Churchill.
Mark Churchill. Congrats, Mark Churchill. Okay.
He's great.
Seattle Ferries. Let's talk about it. First, let's talk about the Wi-Fi. They are taking initial steps towards offering public Wi-Fi service not only on the vessel, but also at the terminals. I guess I didn't realize that this wasn't already happening. I haven't really thought about it. Because I thought that too. We all have data on our phones, right? It's a pilot program, so they're going to start with one terminal, which is Bremerton, and one of the vessels. Now, I was surprised by how expensive this is, because they said it could cost over $100,000 just for the pilot program. So the whole state would be like millions of dollars.
Right.
It seems like a good idea. I mean, we have it at all the airports,
sure.
Especially people that are international and need the Wi-Fi, all of that. They've tried partnering with the private sector in the past, but it hasn't quite worked out. So we'll see how that goes. The other story is, there's three here, is that there's new ferries. So Governor Bob Ferguson wants to spend $1 billion to buy 3 new hybrid electric state ferries. And he also wants to spend about $150 million to upkeep the older vessels. Details on who's going to build these new ones or when they'll be here is unclear. It probably won't be before 2030, so don't get too excited. But that's what he's trying to get the money approved. And they want to go electric. the last story, I was just listening to a KUOW, the Seattle Now podcast about this topic, which is that 2 ferries are for sale and there's no minimum.
There's no minimum.
No. So, yeah, you can offer whatever and see if they'll take it.
$100. Here we go.
You could try it. In the podcast, the last buyer was this businessman from Ecuador, and he offered $100,000 for each one, which seems pretty low for that.
Yeah.
And then he got like this tugboat to tug them down to Ecuador, and they couldn't get out of the sound, and they had to like return them back. And the state was like, yeah, never mind. You can't have these because you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, wow.
So now the buyers are vetted a lot more. I think it's probably going to be scrapped for parts. It already has been scrapped because it's just way too expensive. I mean, that's why they're decommissioned in the first place.
Yeah.
So they were talking about like it could be bought for like a restaurant on the water, or, the Haiyu is another example of a decommissioned terminal for event space. So we'll see what happens. Somebody creative might come in and buy them. So
I wonder if you could make it into a hotel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That'd be cool.
Maybe this might say goodbye to retirement.
There you go.
You've got a new company to start. Okay, this was just kind of a fun one, and I wanted to let people know about it. But we can kind of talk about like tech pricing and things like that because of the cost of the Wi-Fi that we mentioned. But how have the tariffs and increased costs affected you? Because I know on a planner side, we are seeing higher AV proposals, and I imagine your stuff was getting higher as well. What did that look like for you? And do you have an example of like the change of cost of something?
That was just starting to really hit as I was transitioning out, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
What I did hear a lot is my suppliers saying, this is coming, this is going to be affecting pricing. And then it's really hard because then you have clients who are like, why are things so expensive?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, because things are costing more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just now in what we were doing starting to hit our future events.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big deal, and it's definitely impacting pricing.
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's frustrating as a planner because I can't do all the cool things that I want to do. Right? Like I wanted to, activate this whole area, but I guess I can only do main stage because I can only afford a certain amount and all that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I talked to we had another guy on with an AV company, but I'm waiting for the day where a Netflix documentary comes out about Encore and PSAV, whatever, being a monopoly.
Yep.
I was talking to one, Pinnacle, the guy that used to own whatever he was called before, but he thinks that Encore owns about 80% of the market. I don't know if that was his feeling or if that's based in truth. I couldn't find the data. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think 80% of the hotel market.
Hotel, okay.
Yeah. Because Pinnacle mainly works in the venue hotel side of things versus where we could do events anywhere and we go anywhere all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's very true. And I agree.
As a planner, I think I remember vividly I did an event at the Fairmont with one screen and projector and one microphone, and it didn't even include a tech inside the room, and I think it was about $10,000.
Yeah.
So for people listening, to give like a context of it, and that's because the ones that are in the hotels get a kickback. So of that $10,000, Encore pays Fairmont whatever percentage, and so it makes sense for the hotel. It's extra revenue for them. And as a planner, it is extremely difficult to use an outside AV company because, I mean, a not experienced planner wouldn't notice it in the contract and just sign away. I've had it taken out of the contract where I can bring somebody outside, but you can't work around some of their rules where, okay, if you're bringing an outside person, you still have to pay us upwards of like $2,000 for our guys to oversee it, for the use of our power, for the use of our Wi-Fi that we were going to waive, but now we're not going to.
Right.
So they make it extremely difficult, and that's why we're here with Encore. And they've acquired a bunch of companies over the years, because that's why I keep saying PSAV, but
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, what's your take on all of that?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the other issue I have is the inconsistency in their pricing.
Yes, everything is made up.
From one venue to the next, to the next, to the next. And to give you an example, we did an event in May of last year, and our bill to the client, so we did the entire thing.
Okay.
Our bill was just under $200,000 for this conference.
Mm-hmm.
Encore gave the client a bill for the same conference, same stuff, $600,000.
Yeah. Yes, I know. It's like not a small amount.
It's not insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came in, we did the event, and we have we know how to negotiate with Encore in terms of their power and their internet, and how to talk to them, and how to say, this is what we actually need for power. And so, yes, we know you're going to charge us, and that's fine, but we also know what we need. And you don't need to give us more than what we need.
They also make the proposals very confusing.
Yes.
And I've been doing this a while, so I can tell, like, what a 4K projector, do I need that? Do I not? Whatever.
Right.
But a lot of planners are like, okay, I guess this is how much power I need, if that's what you say. And
Right.
if you go back to them, they're like, oh, okay, never mind, we'll take it out. So, yeah, it's really insane. The other thing is, I did an event and I ended up chatting with the AV tech, and him and I are now friends.
Right.
And I asked how much he got paid for that. Because, of course, you're going to mark it up. I'm not expecting it to be the same. But I think I was paying something like $200 an hour for the tech. And I think he was making like $30 an hour.
Yep, that's true.
So that markup just felt like too much.
Yes.
So what do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
No, and actually, there's been times that I've often thought somebody somewhere needs to step in and just do, because it's gouging. It's really and truly gouging. And I hope I'm not going to be struck down for that, for saying that.
No, yeah. And I think it'd have to be government intervention at this point.
It would.
And we're not going to see that.
No, because Encore's a global company.
Yeah,
for sure. I wish they would self-regulate and be fair about.
But there's no incentive for them to do that, right? Yeah.
No.
Okay. I don't think we're going to solve that on here, but it's very validating that you feel the same way.
And there's some really good people working at Encore. I don't want to disparage that at all.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's more of systemic.
Correct.
Okay, our last article is that Ross Dress for Less is the latest chain leaving its downtown Seattle location. It will close January 16th. It joins other major brands that have left, like the North Face, Nike, and Saks, who have also left their location downtown. However, this isn't doom and gloom. Not everybody's leaving, because I think I've covered this in another episode, but Barnes & Noble is coming into downtown. And Niki and I were just talking about how we saw that Nordstrom Rack is relocating from Westlake to Pine Street. So we do have more people coming into downtown, and traffic is picking up according to the DSA. You were downtown today, and you're a downtown girly.
Yes. I was downtown today, and I am a downtown girly. I love being in the heart of the city, and I'm so sad at how things have just turned. I think COVID was a huge pin in that change that happened downtown. I've always wanted to live downtown. I've always wanted to live in a condo downtown, where you're looking out the water and going to the market to get your groceries. Just that whole romance of it all, I think it just would be so much fun.
Yeah.
But back in the day, downtown was this bustling, fabulous place to be. And I'm sad. I don't like hearing about all these places that are leaving. But I was so happy to hear about not only Barnes & Noble, but Nordstrom moving. Yeah, Ross is closing, but they've got plans for what that space is going to become. So that was hopeful.
What are the plans? What are the plans?
Oh, they announced it yesterday, I think. It's going to become an apartment building.
Oh, cool. Okay.
There's a timber apartment building that's going to be going in. The plans to put it together are under works, but it's going to have parking. This was interesting. 0.6 parking spots per unit. I'm like, how does that work? How does that math work? But yes, man. So I was excited to see that there's plans for the future of rejuvenating downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Niki, one more on this, and then we'll do our closing question. But I wanted to know what's next for you. So we joked about doing things in the daytime, but do you want to eventually get back into doing some sort of work, or are we kind of just gonna enjoy the freedom, or what are your thoughts? What's next?
Yeah, well, what I really am passionate about is helping other business owners figure out what their transition plan is and what their exit strategy is. Because like I said, you can't just wake up one day and decide you're going to sell the company. And so many business owners do that. And just kind of working consultatively with some people to say, let's think about how this is going to work, how this is going to go, what do you want to do? Pros and cons of all the different sides, coming up with action plans and things that you can do. I don't want to be a person to necessarily do evaluations and put their companies on the market. There's people who do that are amazing, but it's not just the to-do list of things that you need to do as a business owner. There's also the psychology of getting your mind wrapped around the fact that one day you're not going to own this company.
Yeah.
You know, one day I walked into my building and it wasn't my building anymore. What's that going to feel like? What's that going to look like? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I've only had the experience of quitting jobs, and I found myself kept saying like we or our, like, oh, I mean, their event. You know, there's that separation that takes a minute. And as an owner, it would be even more.
And I still say we.
Yeah.
I probably have said it in this podcast. I say we, and I need to stop saying that.
Well, it's still early on.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our final question, every year I ask a question for every guest, and I really liked the last two years. It was best advice you ever received for a year, and then it was what do you do to get motivated when you don't feel like doing your job? So this year, I always kind of try out a few until I figure out which ones I like. So the one I'm going to do for you, Niki, is what's something you've stopped doing? What's something we're leaving behind, we're not doing anymore?
I have stopped apologizing for things that I don't know.
Say more.
Okay. I found myself doing this a lot when I was going through the sale of the company. And so this is why it came to my knowledge that I did this. But when something comes up that you don't know, like someone's talking about something you know, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not smart enough. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Or I'm sorry. And instead of just apologizing for it, say, why don't you tell me more about that?
That's such like a small moment that can have a big impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so just the whole not apologizing for not knowing something.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
I like that. I had a New Year's resolution one time that, when you like accidentally bump into somebody in the public on the street and your instinct as women especially is like, oh, sorry. And New Year's resolution was to say, oh, excuse me.
Excuse me.
It's
Pardon
still
me.
the same. Yeah, pardon me. Sorry. And not say sorry. I still have a hard time with it. But I like that. All right, cool. Well, that's all I have for you, Niki. I'm so happy for you and proud of you. And I just wish you the best. I hope you enjoy this time.
Thank you. Well, and by the way, I'm proud of you too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks all. This has been The Weekly with production assistance from Nick Patry. If you liked what you heard, rate us and write a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We love listener feedback, so if you have any story suggestions, comments, or complaints, email us at info@theweeklyseattle.com. Make sure to check back next Sunday for the latest local business news. We'll see you next time.